Hello and welcome back to our Chronological Bible and your reading plan. Today we're on 181 and we have 2 Chronicles 19 through 23. 2 Chronicles chapter 19 to start. And Jehoshaphat, the sovereign of Yehuda, let me get that out of the way. And Jehoshaphat, the sovereign of Yehuda, returned to his house in peace in Jerusalem. And Jehu son of Hanani the seer went out to face him and said to sovereign Jehoshaphat, Do you help the wicked and love those who hate Yahuwah? Therefore the wrath of Yahuwah is upon you. But good matters are found in you, in that you have removed the Asheroth from the land, and you have prepared your heart to seek Elohim. So Jehoshaphat dwelt in Jerusalem, and he went out again among the people from Beersheba to the hill country of Ephraim, and brought them back to Yahuwah, Elohim of their fathers. And he appointed judges in the land and all the walled cities of Yehuda, city by city, and said to the judges, Watch what you are doing, for you do not judge for man, but for Yahuwah, who is with you in the matter of right ruling. Another one, And now let the reverence of Yahuwah be upon you. Guard and do it, for there is no unrighteousness with Yahuwah our Elohim, nor partiality, nor taking of bribes. And in Jerusalem Jehoshaphat also appointed some of the Levites and Kohanim, which means the priests, and some of the chief fathers of Israel, for the right ruling of Yahuwah and for dispute. Then they returned to Jerusalem. And he commanded them, saying, Do this in the reverence of Yahuwah, trustworthily and with a perfect heart. When any dispute comes to you from your brothers who dwell in their cities, between blood and blood, between Torah and command, laws and right rulings, then you shall warn them, lest they trespass against Yahuwah, and wrath come upon you and your brothers. Do this, and you shall not be guilty. And look, Amariyahu, the chief Kohen, the chief priest, is over you in all matters of Yahuwah. And Zebediah, son of Yishmael, the ruler of the house of Yehuda, for all the matters of the sovereign, and the Levites are officials before you. Be strong and do, and Yahuwah is with the good. Chapter 20. And after this it came to be that the children of Moab and the children of Ammon came in, and with them some of the peoples against Jehoshaphat to battle. And they came and spoke to Jehoshaphat, saying, A great army is coming against you from beyond the sea, from Aram. And see there in Hatzetzon and Tamar, which is Ein Gedi. And Jehoshaphat was afraid and turned his face to seek Yahuwah, and proclaimed a fast throughout all Yehuda. And Yehuda gathered to inquire of Yahuwah, even from all the cities of Yehuda they came to seek Yahuwah. And Jehoshaphat stood in the assembly of Yehuda in Jerusalem, in the house of Yahuwah, in front of the new courtyard. And said, O Yahuwah, Elohim of our fathers, are you not Elohim in the Shamayim, which is the heavens? And do you not rule over all the reigns of the nations? And in your hand is there not power and might, so that no one is able to stand against you? Are you not our Elohim? You have driven out the inhabitants of this land before your people Israel, and gave it to the seed of Abraham, whom you love forever. And they dwell in it, and have built you a mikdash, which is a temple, in it for your name, saying, If evil comes upon us, such as the sword, judgment, or pestilence, or scarcity of food, we shall stand before this house and in your presence, for your name is in this house, and cry out to you in our distress, and you do hear and save. And now see the children of Ammon and Moab, and Mount Seir, whom you would not let Israel invade when they came out of the land of Mitzrayim. For they turned from them and did not destroy them. And see, they are repaying us by coming in to drive us out of your possession, which you have given us to inherit. O our Elohim, would you not judge them? For we are powerless against this great army that is coming against us, and we do not know what to do, but our eyes are upon you. And all Yehuda, with their little ones, their wives, and their children, stood before Yahuwah. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you. And the Ruah, which means the Spirit of Yahuwah, came upon Yahaziel, son of Zechariah, son of Benaiah, son of Yael, son of Mattaniah, a Levite of the sons of Asaph, in the midst of the assembly. And he said, Listen, all Yehudah, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem, and sovereign Jehoshaphat. Thus said Yahuwah to you, Do not fear, nor be afraid of the face of this great army, for the battle is not yours, but Elohim's. Go down against them tomorrow. See, they are coming up by the ascent of Zeitz, and you shall find them at the end of the Wadi, which is the valley, before the wilderness of Yeruel. It is not for you to fight in this. Position yourselves, stand still, and see the deliverance of Yahuwah with you, O Yehudah and Jerusalem. Do not be afraid nor fear. Go out against them tomorrow, for Yahuwah is with you. And Jehoshaphat bowed his head with his face to the ground, and all Yehudah and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem fell down before Yahuwah to bow themselves before Yahuwah. And the Levites and the children of the Kehathites and of the children of the Korites stood up to praise Yahuwah Elohim of Yisrael with an exceedingly loud voice. And they rose early in the morning and went out into the wilderness of Tekoa. And as they went out, Jehoshaphat stood and said, Hear me, O Yehudah, and you inhabitants of Jerusalem. Trust in Yahuwah your Elohim and be steadfast. Trust his Nebi'im and prosper. And his Nebi'im is prophets, right? Mm. Okay. And verse 21. After consulting with the people, he appointed those who should sing to Yahuwah and who should praise the splendor of Kodeshah, which means holiness, as they went out before the army and were saying, Give thanks to Yahuwah, for his kindness is everlasting. And when they began singing and praising, Yahuwah laid ambushes against the children of Ammon, Moab, and Mount Seir, who had come against Yehudah, and they were smitten. Then the children of Ammon and Moab stood up against the inhabitants of Mount Seir to destroy and annihilate them. And when they had made an end to the inhabitants of Seir, they helped to destroy one another. And when Yehudah came at the lookout in the wilderness, they looked toward the army and saw their dead bodies lying on the ground, and none had escaped. And Jehoshaphat and his people came to take away their spoil, and they found among them a great amount of valuables on the dead bodies. And precious jewelry which they stripped off for themselves, more than they could take away. And they were 3 days plundering the spoil, for it was much. And on the 4th day they assembled in the valley of Barakah, which is the valley of blessing. For there they Barak, which means blessed Yahuwah. Therefore the name of that place was called the valley of Barakah to this day. Then they returned, every man of Yehudah and Jerusalem, with Jehoshaphat in front of them, to go back to Jerusalem with joy, for Yahuwah had made them rejoice over their enemies. And they came to Jerusalem with harps and lyres and trumpets to the house of Yahuwah. And the fear of Elohim was on all the reigns of the lands when they heard that Yahuwah had fought against the enemies of Israel. Then the reign of Jehoshaphat was at peace, for his Elohim gave him rest on all sides. Thus Jehoshaphat reigned over Yehudah 35 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 25 years in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Azubah, the daughter of Shilhi. And he walked in the way of his father Asa, and did not turn aside from it, doing what was right in the eyes of Yahuwah. Only the high places were not taken away, for as yet the people had not prepared their hearts for the Elohim of their fathers. And the rest of the acts of Jehoshaphat, the first and the last, see, they are written in the book of Jehu, son of Hanani, which is mentioned in the book of the sovereigns of Israel. And after this, Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Yehudah, joined himself with Ahaziah, sovereign of Israel. He did wickedness in doing so. And he joined himself with him to make ships to go to Tarshish, and they made the ships in Etzion Geber. Then Eleazar, son of Dodawahu of Marishah, Nabu, which means prophesied against Jehoshaphat, saying, Because you have joined yourself with Ahaziah, Yahuwah shall break up your work. And the ships were wrecked, so that they were unable to go to Tarshish. Chapter 21. And Jehoshaphat slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Jehoram his son reigned in his place. And he had brothers, the sons of Jehoshaphat, Azariah, and Yehiel, and Zechariah, and Azariah, and Mikael, and Shephatiah. All these were sons of Jehoshaphat, sovereign of Israel. And their father gave them many gifts of silver and gold and precious items, with walled cities in Yehudah, but he had given the reign to Jehoram because he was the firstborn. And when Jehoram had risen up over the reign of his father and made himself strong, he slew all his brothers with the sword, and also others of the heads of Israel. Jehoram was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the sovereigns of Israel, as the house of Ahab had done, for he had the daughter of Ahab as a wife, and he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah. However, Yahuwah would not destroy the house of David because of the covenant he had made with David, and since he had promised to give a lamp to him and to his sons all the days. In his days the Edomites revolted from under the hand of Yehudah and appointed a sovereign over themselves. Then Jehoram went out with his officers and all his chariots with him, and it came to be that he rose by night and smote the Edomites who had surrounded him and the commanders of the chariots. Thus the Edomites revolted from under the hand of Yehudah to this day. Then Libnah revolted from under his hand because he had forsaken Yahuwah Elohim of his fathers. He had also made high places in the mountains of Yehudah, and caused the inhabitants of Jerusalem to commit whoring, and led Yehudah astray. And a letter came to him from Eliyahu the Nabi, which is the prophet, saying, Thus said Yahuwah Elohim of your father David, because you have not walked in the ways of Jehoshaphat your father, or in the ways of Asa, sovereign of Yehudah, but have walked in the way of the sovereigns of Israel, and have made Yehudah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem to commit whoring, like the whorings of the house of Ahab, and have also slain your brothers, those of your father's household who are better than yourself. See, Yahuwah is going to strike with a great blow among your people, your children, your wives, and all your possessions, and you with many sicknesses, with disease of your intestines, until your intestines come out because of the sickness day by day. And Yahuwah stirred up the spirit of the Pelishtites against Jehoram and the Arabians who were near the Cushites. And they came up into Yehudah and broke into it, and captured all the possessions that were found in the sovereign's house, and also his sons and his wives, so that there was not a son left to him except Jehoahaz, and the youngest of his sons. And after all this, Yahuwah plagued him with his intestines with a disease, plagued him in his intestines with a disease for which there was no healing. And it came to be in the course of time, at the end of 2 years, that his intestines came out because of his sickness, and he died in great pain. And his people made no burning for him like the burning for his fathers. He was 32 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem and passed away without pleasantries. And they buried him in the city of David, but not in the tombs of the sovereigns. And chapter 22. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem appointed Ahaziah, his youngest son, to reign in his place, for the raiding band that came with the Arabians into the camp had slain all the older sons. So Ahaziah, son of Jehoram, sovereign of Yehudah, reigned. Ahaziah was 22 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 year. And his mother's name was Athaliah, the granddaughter of Omri. He too walked in the ways of the house of Ahab, for his mother counseled him to do wickedly. And he did evil in the eyes He did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah like the house of Ahab, for they were his counselors after the death of his father to his destruction. He also walked in their counsel and went with Jehoram, son of Ahab, sovereign of Israel, to fight against Hazael, sovereign of Aram, at Ramoth Gilead. And the Arameans smote Joram, and he returned to Jezreel to recover from the wounds which he had received at Ramah when they fought against Hazael, sovereign of Aram. And Azariah, son of Jehoram, sovereign of Yehudah, went down to see Jehoram, son of Ahab, in Jezreel, for he was sick. But from Elohim came the downfall of Ahaziah through his coming to Joram. For when he came, he went out with Jehoram against Jehu, son of Nimshi, whom Yahuwah had anointed to cut off the house of Ahab. And it came to be, when Jehu was executing judgment on the house of Ahab, that he found the rulers of Yehudah and the sons of Ahaziah's brothers, who served Ahaziah, and slew them. So he searched for Ahaziah, and they caught him while he was hiding in Shomeron, and brought him to Jehu, and put him to death, and buried him, for they said, He is the son of Jehoshaphat, who sought Yahuwah with all his heart. And there was none in the house of Ahaziah strong enough to reign. And when HalleluYah, the mother of Ahaziah, saw that her son was dead, she rose up and destroyed all the offspring of the reign of the house of Yehudah. But Jehoshabath, the daughter of the sovereign, took Joash, son of Ahaziah, and stole him away from among the sovereign's sons who were slain, and put him and his nurse in a bedroom. So Jehoshabath, the daughter of sovereign Jehoram, the wife of Jehoiada the Kohen, which is a priest, because she was the sister of Ahaziah, hid him from HalleluYah, so that she could not put him to death. And he was hidden with them in the house of Elohim for 6 years, while Athaliah was reigning over the land. Chapter 23. And in the 7th year Jehoiada strengthened himself and made a covenant with the commanders of hundreds, Azariah son of Jehoram, and Ishmael son of Jehohanan, and Azariah son of Obed, and Maaseiah son of Adayahu, and Elishaphat son of Zikri. And they went about through Yehudah, and gathered the Levites from all the cities of Yehudah, and the chiefs of the fathers of Israel, and they came to Jerusalem. And all the assembly made a covenant with the sovereign in the house of Elohim. And he said to them, See, the son of the sovereign is to reign, as Yahuwah had said to the sons of David. This is what you do. 1/3 of you entering on the Shabbath of the Kohanim and the Levites, gatekeepers of the thresholds. And 1/3 are at the sovereign's house, and 1/3 at the gate of the foundation, while all the people are in the courtyards of the house of Yahuwah. And let no one come into the house of Yahuwah except the Kohanim and those of the Levites who serve. They go in, for they are Kadesh, which means holy, which means sanctified or set apart. But all the people are to guard the charge of Yahuwah. And the Levites shall surround the sovereign on all sides, every man with his weapons in his hand, and whoever comes into the house, let him be put to death, and be with the sovereign when he comes in and when he goes out. And the Levites and all Yehudah did according to all that Jehoiada the Kohen commanded. And each man took his men who were to come in on the Shabbath, with those going out on the Shabbath, for Jehoiada the Kohen did not dismiss the divisions. And Jehoiada the Kohen gave to the commanders of hundreds the spears and the large and small shields, which had been sovereign David's, that were in the house of Elohim. And he stood all the people, every man with his weapon in his hand, from the right side of the house to the left side of the house, along by the altar and by the house, all around the sovereign. And they brought out the son of the sovereign, and put on him the diadem and the witness, and appointed him to reign. Then Jehoiada and his sons anointed him, and said, Let the sovereign live. And HalleluYah heard the noise of the people running and praising the sovereign. And she came to the people in the house of Yahuwah, and looked and saw the sovereign standing by his column at the entrance. And the chiefs and the trumpeters were beside the sovereign, and all the people of the land rejoicing and blowing trumpets, also the singers with instruments of song, and those who led in praise. Then HalleluYah tore her garments and said, Treason, treason! And Jehoiada the Kohen brought out the commanders of hundreds who were put over the army, and said to them, Take her outside the ranks, and slay with the sword whoever follows her. For the Kohen said, Do not kill her in the house of Yahuwah. So they laid hands on her, and she went by way of the entrance of the house gate into the sovereign's house, and they put her to death there. Jehoiada then made a covenant between himself and the people and the sovereign, to be the people of Yahuwah. And all the people went to the house of Baal, and broke it down. They completely broke up its altars and images, and slew Mattan, the priest of Baal, before the altars. And Jehoiada put the offices of the house of Yahuwah into the land into the hand of the Kohanim, the Levites, whom David had assigned in the house of Yahuwah, to offer the burnt offerings of Yahuwah, as it is written in the Torah of Moshe, with rejoicing and with singing by the hands of David. And he stood the gatekeepers at the gates of the house of Yahuwah, so that no one who was in any way unclean should enter. And he took the commanders of hundreds, and the nobles, and the governors of the people, and all the people of the land, and brought the sovereign down from the house of Yahuwah. And they went through the upper gate to the sovereign's house, and placed the sovereign on the throne of the reign. And all the people of the land rejoiced, and the city had rest, for they had slain Athaliah with the sword. And that concludes our reading for today. As always, thank you for joining. I hope you've been reading along, and peace and blessings and love to you. See you in the next one.